on my mind.
Somebody in a parachute has just landed on the edge of the ring. Holyfield bit by a dirty Mike Tyson.
Hello and welcome to episode 32 of The Boxing Show with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, we are back after a brief absence, and I'm joined by none other than Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke as we review this past weekend's card in Sheffield. All right, Barry?
Yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, nice to see you again.
Is it? It doesn't sound like you.
No, it's not really. It was just sarcasm.
Absence makes the heart grow
I've
fonder.
learned about sarcasm. Brilliant, isn't it? You say stuff, but don't mean it. It's just great,
For
isn't
comic
it?
effect.
You're looking really well. You look healthy.
Yeah,
You've been jogging.
We started off with a bunch of lies here on the boxing show this week, but going to go over to the
I had my
straight
haircut
man.
yesterday. So you still weighing?
Andy, how are you?
Good, yeah. Good. Really good.
Well done.
Good. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done this. I think this is 3 weeks.
You've been off, haven't you, going away and then us down?
Yeah, because we recorded a couple. One was in advance, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think the last time we did was before Joy Shank. If we have time towards the end of this show, I suppose we'll kind of do a little mini recap of what's come before
I would
us.
say, ironically, the shows that I never covered, the podcast I never did, all my predictions were right.
Joyce Shang. So we had Joyce. We had Joyce Shang preview.
Yeah.
Went with
you that
Joyce.
Yeah, I went for Joyce.
Went with.
Jang.
Did you?
No, I did, yeah. 100%. I swear.
I'm not sure about that.
What do you want about not
sure? We'll have to go
I'm
back and check
telling you.
VAR.
I never did the Joyce Zhang thing with you.
Okay. Okay. Well,
count,
yeah, it doesn't count.
But I'm
If you
saying,
didn't say it on the boxing show, it
with
didn't
Zhang.
happen.
I went with Zhang. I was always.
Yeah, I went with Zhang. Canelo, Charlo. I think we all. Well,
That
we
was
did.
a letdown.
we,
That was
yeah.
a-
We all went
I
with
said
Canelo.
stoppage though.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
I think I might have said points.
You
But-
said
but
you
either
said
way.
you said Eubank again. I don't know where you.
I tell you what, Eubank would have given him a better fight than
He
Charlo.
certainly
Really?
would have. He certainly would have. Anyway, if there's time, we'll come back to that. We've got quite a few to rattle through from this past weekend, and of course, starting in Sheffield. I'm going to start at the top and work our way down. Barry, you were in attendance for Leigh Wood versus Josh Warrington, two guys who've given us many great nights over the years. And Saturday was another one.
It was absolutely fantastic. It really was. I know when you got fights, I never change my mind. Never about a fight. I'll pick it on my own ideas, and I sort of stick to it. And I don't really watch any previews for fights except for this podcast. But because
Sky as well. Sky.
What's that?
Do you watch Sky?
I don't listen to that. So Gary Logan's on it too much. No. He's my mate. He's lovely, Gary. But I'm going to see him tonight. He's going to fill me in. But anyway, right? I don't know where I am. But I don't want my to get influenced, or I'll change my opinion. But Wood and Warrington, I was sort of thought, I mean, like everyone else pretty much, and thought, yeah, Wood, because Warrington's had a longer, harder career at a higher level. But no, he looked like he lost against Lopez, even though it was relatively close. He looked like he lost that intensity in his work, maybe because of the little bit worried about the broken jaw that he had before that. And I thought, without intensity, Warrington is half the fighter, and if he's lost that, then he can't beat Leigh Wood. But I changed my mind like about 10 days before, and I think Warrington's just going to be too busy for him. He's going to make him work too hard, and he's going to smother his work, and all that patience and getting that distance that he has, he'll lose his shape. I thought he'll lose his shape. He's going to get caught, and he hasn't got the greatest of chins. No, not saying that. He's got big or decent shots rattle him continuously, I think, Wood. But he has that amazing thing where he can recover very quickly, and he can fire when he doesn't know where he is. That's you can't teach that. That's just a crazy thing. He can fire when I don't think he might be on his way out, and he can still fire with power.
Yeah, it's just instinct, isn't it? He's
Yeah,
got
it's
that
mad.
instinct.
Yeah. And so, but I thought Warrington was going. I fancied Warrington to win the fight. I did. I thought he'd wear him down, and I half fancied him for a stoppage. I did late. I thought, and I thought he would start fast. But it transpired. It looked like I was right for a while. Let's be honest. I thought Wood started off pretty good. First couple of rounds, they were close, but I thought he did. I thought, oh, hang on a minute, Warrington just can't get in there. He's feeling the power, and he's just, you got to get on him, and he's just not letting his hands go. But once he closed that distance, he'd be like good double jab and good, nice high guard. Once he closed that distance, and while he was rallying away, he believed in himself, sat down low, got nice and low, and Wood was on the steady legs a few times. What Warrington did do, about maybe round 4 or something, 3, 4. Is he stopped like trying to advance? He sat back a little bit and was blocking and countering him, wasn't he, really well? Like, you thought you got to push it on Wood, and that's what I thought. And he changed tact halfway through, so then Wood come at him and then he was just blocking and firing. And once he felt the shot, he would fire with like 3, 4 punches, and Wood just didn't. And then that made Wood clam up because he's thinking, every time I throw a shot, I'm getting caught, and I'm getting caught with clusters here, and I'm getting flustered a little bit, flustered. But I think. I think it rattled him a little bit. But as we've seen with Leigh Wood, that don't mean shit. Because if he can hit you, he can hurt you. I tell you what Leigh Wood does really well. I think this power of his, I think we've over exaggerated it. Because Ben Davison says he's the biggest puncher he's ever had on the pads, and he might be that. And I think he is a big puncher, but I don't think he's a devastating hit you once and you don't wake up for a week sort of puncher. But what he does do well, he hits hard. And he knows he hits hard, but he knows once he's hit you, he's a great finisher.
Yeah.
Like he did on Saturday night. There was 7 shots in that whole sequence. He turned southpaw from the first left hand, which didn't seem like much, that landed, and then the big right hook that sort of started the damage. But from that first one there's 7 shots, and not one of them misses, and they're all quality, and there's all little gaps between each punch because he's not rushing it, and that's just a phenomenal instinct to have.
Yeah, there was
They go now. He's done it.
Yeah, but no, absolutely. That's exactly what I thought watching it. And as a fighter's kind of falling backwards and their head is changing height, he just adjusted and just locked on and caught him every single time.
Sorry, Andy, that's a really good point. That is because I didn't think about that. He is sort of slowly, even though they dip and they go down, and that's what you see where fighters miss. And I've never really thought about that before. I just thought, people just swing wildly. But they're aiming for the target, but the target is adjusting.
It's going down and further away.
I nicked that a few. That's all. That's my one. I made that my own. That'd be
so much stuff from you.
It'd be that Barry Jones is so clever, it's Andy Clarke. But it is when he's going. But again, he is adjusting the punch naturally as he's going on, as he's slowly changing the side.
He literally punched him to the ground as he was dropping.
Brilliant.
There was a Twitter exchange between our mate Chris Lloyd and Lee Wiley, obviously part of the Leigh Wood training team, where he says after that right hook lands, where Lee just doubles back and adjusts the feet to get in position to throw those shots as he's going down, which was great when looking back on the replay. Andy, we're going to come to the stoppage, which is inevitably kind of a big talking point, as they often are. But for the first 6 rounds or so, it looked like we saw the Josh Warrington that beat Lee Selby, that beat Carl Frampton. It seemed as though the return of domestic dust-up Warrington was very much upon us until it wasn't.
It did. I thought the first round was quite close. I shaded Warrington in the first round. Froch gave a draw, Carl, on his card. He loves a draw.
He loves a 10-10 round, doesn't he?
But that was fair. That was fair enough. I could see how you could even have given it the other way. Then I thought Leigh Wood had a really good second round, switched southpaw, started using the jab, kind of long left hand to the body. And I thought at that point that it's very early, but I thought things maybe looked a bit ominous for Warrington at that stage, because that just seemed to be the method that was going to work for him. And then, as Barry described, he kind of changed tack a little bit, and 3, 4, 5 and 6 he definitely won, and he did some damage. So I had him 5-1 up at halfway, still an awfully long way to go, and it's just the drama of boxing, isn't it? Mike said at the end, Mike Costello on commentary said at the end, there's nothing like this. There's no other sport like this where you can turn something on its head, and he's absolutely right. You have sudden death in some other sports, and you can score last minute and all that kind of thing, but for it to count, you have to be within touching distance.
Yeah.
In boxing, you can be 5-1 down And I don't see how you could possibly have had it any closer than 4-2, and then there's the point off, I guess, which I thought was a bit harsh. But you can turn it around with one punch and all of a sudden it's over. It's absolutely brutal. That's the real brutality of it for me. Not the physicality, although obviously that is too, but we're used to that. We're used to watching that. It's just the fact that you could be doing so well and then in a blink of an eye it's done and you've lost. And that is, there is nothing like it in any other sport. It's wild. We saw it with Wood against Lara. He was winning that fight, wasn't he? The other way around. So he knows what this is like for Josh Warrington. He knows exactly what it's like because he was boxing brilliantly that night and winning the fight. Then bang, all of a sudden it's over.
He looked lost as well, Wood, didn't he? He didn't look panicked, but he looked like I wasn't.
He didn't really have any answers, did he?
Nothing's working here.
Yeah.
I felt like he looked very open from the first bell, really, Wood. He didn't have the authoritative lead hand like he had against Mauricio Lara in both fights. Obviously, the first fight didn't end in Leigh Wood's favour. But what do you think that is, Barry? Because there's a lot of talk going into the fight about the weight. We've both seen them both on the scales, probably looking less than their best, should we say? But I mean, they're both at that sort of stage now.
I spoke to Ben Davison after the fight, and he said, like in the corridor actually, and he said he hasn't really been a featherweight since he won the title. Kanzu, really. He said what do you do? Because all he has is the title.
We've spoke about it on several times here, and it's a currency. So certainly somebody like Leigh Wood, who's 35 years of age, has had to work to that point.
Same with Lee Selby when he boxed Warrington. Warrington beat him in his own game, by the way. But Selby couldn't. Have you seen Lee Selby now? He's massive.
Yeah.
If he told you, I used to be a featherweight champion of the world, you go no. There's a picture of me, him, and Steve Robinson. So I'm a super feather. No, I'm too small, but it's still Steve Robinson's a big featherweight. And Lee Selby's up there, and like that. You go.
He looks like a completely different person, doesn't he? He looks amazing.
He looks really
well.
Yeah.
We try and tell somebody like that he's the same weight as Steve, or he was boxing lighter than me, and they wouldn't believe you. But anyway, he said Lee hadn't been that for ages, but he's had to keep making the weight. But it's been getting worrying for me. He said I've been real concerned, but we've had to work with it because like that, it's all about money for him now. He's at a stage where 35. But they said that's it now. He's not going. He's not defending our title. That's the end of it, and rightly so. And that might be a factor. But I think just stylistically, the way he is vulnerable. I feel always, I just think the rushing and the speed that and when he comes behind the double jab with Selby, was always going to with Warrington was always going to be a problem for Wood. I thought it was just if he can catch Warrington coming onto the shot, that's what I thought he needed to do a little bit. Like to try and get the range with the jab and sit back, but he didn't. I think because he had a decent couple of first rounds, I thought, especially the second round, then he wasn't expecting Warrington to fire off his punches. That's what done him. I think he thought he hits hard enough to make you stop and think before you fire. But Wood, as soon as Warrington felt the shot on the glove, he was firing back straight away. There you go. It's so hard. Good fight that was.
It was a good fight. Andy, do you think do you think the general consensus, as it were, was that Josh Warrington had seen better days, that this was a fight where Leigh Wood, in some people's estimations, would kind of close the book on Josh Warrington and this would be kind of his last hurrah, as it were? Do you think we were a bit too quick to write him off?
Possibly, but most people I spoke to going into the fight seemed to see it as fairly even, and a few did change their mind as we got closer to it and before the weigh-in as well, not necessarily just off the back of the weigh-in. It is amazing when you look at their two careers. There's this massive fork in the road for the pair of them in February 2021 where they're on the same card. Warrington's undefeated, hasn't boxed for too long because of COVID, but he's looking... It wasn't a tune-up against Lara, but let's be honest, he was supposed to beat Lara, then move on to bigger and better things, unifications, all of that Kanzu. Difficulties with belts and mandatories and vacating belts, and it was all a bit chaotic, but that's where he was. Wood was on the same card looking to win the British title against Reece Mould, having lost to Jazza Dickens, no shame in that, in the golden contract. And at that point we're thinking, right, Warrington's heading for Las Vegas maybe, and Leigh Wood, God, if he could win a British title, that'd be great. He won, Josh lost, and look at the pair of them since then. Lee's had 5 world title fights. He took Josh's fight against Kanju, if you want to look at it like that.
Yeah, he did.
Won 4, lost 1, and avenged the defeat against Lara, and it's been a rough trot for Josh since. So I kind of felt they were fairly equal going into it, although the form was with Wood more than Warrington. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it again, to be honest with you. And I know he wants to box at Forest, and he's absolutely earned that. And I think that with what he's done over the last few years, his profile is high enough now, like within the city, to get that ground full enough for it to be worth it. But
I don't think so. I don't think he feels it.
I don't think he feels it necessarily. But they could do what they did with Bellew at Goodison, maybe, and put it in the corner rather than right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's
It's a funny. Again, you got great support. There was great support on Saturday for both of them, by the way. But I think Warrington's support is starting to wane because he sort of said this himself. Sort of like they just can't keep doing the same. They keep going to the same fights all the time forever. It gets boring for them. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, you support him.
It's
but
one of the things that going into this fight, wasn't it? That he'd had the domestic fights against Selby, against Frampton, Galahad, and etc. And he hadn't had that 30,000.
Yeah, I mean,
there was 9,000. There was 9,000 there. There was 9,000 there, and so.
But that's why you need Warrington, isn't it? I think. And if for Warrington, if it was kind of marketed almost as, one final, one last dance.
It's a bigger fight now because he was winning.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe they would all come out for him for that.
And you are going. Sorry, I would say, and you are going to Nottingham. That's different for the football environment and for the Leeds fans. You're not going to Sheffield to meet Nottingham. You're going to Nottingham, so you'll take more because they want to go there to show force.
Yeah.
And Nottingham will turn up. I mean, that's sort of be a horrible atmosphere, to be honest. But I think it's a struggle to sell. It's probably more sellable fight now, but I still think selling that many. So you go from like 8,000-9,000 to 30. It's a massive jump.
It's a huge jump. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think they will look to make it happen for him. Though I do think he. I think it's all you pick the right weekend, you really get behind the fight, all that kind of stuff, actually. and I'm not sure if there are that many better options out there for him other than Cordina, because that's all British. Those are the only two where you could justify going outside with it, because it's just not gonna. Navarrete, I mean, God, we'd all love to see that, wouldn't we? But people don't really know who he is outside of the likes of us.
We're going to come on to what comes next for both men.
Can I just say
in a short while?
I would say about Warrington, it was fantastic, but he threw, he almost threw as many punches below the waist as he did above the waist. I gotta be honest, he did. I don't think it's intentional with him. He's just a naturally dirty fighter because he gets close and he just get close but he's some of those bodies he was hitting and Michael Alexander was a good referee, I think, actually, but he was right in front of him. He's hitting with him on the leg, on the thigh, and everything. It was just unbelievable. And I had a real good vantage point. I was doing the radio, so right on the apron. And I'm thinking, what?
See, I didn't really notice that particularly.
No, maybe especially in close when he's getting close. Do
you think the point went for it? He kind of gestured around the back of the head for the point, but it could be a combination of things.
I think so, because it's continuously. Because they don't have to. You're brilliant at explaining. You don't have to make a massive statement of a warning to give a point away, do you?
No, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Actually, you've said that's what you said to me before. The ref's discretion.
It's one of the things that came out afterwards, wasn't it? Where Josh had said that he didn't get a firm warning, he didn't get this, didn't get that. You don't need one.
You don't have to do
anything.
anything.
No, you don't have to have one. But right, let's talk about the end of the fight. So the fight was stopped at the end of the 7th round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Barry, going to come to you first. Obviously, a lot of talk around should the fight have been stopped? Should he have been allowed the minute in the corner? Where are you in all of it?
If I'm Josh Warrington, I'm gutted and fuming now about it. Give it that minute might have been enough. And it might have been enough, by the way. Let's be honest. In a fight that he's winning, it might have been enough. A fight that he's winning, a fight where Wood looked a bit lost up until that point. But you take that instance on its own, you isolate what happened in that last 15 seconds, and he takes 7 shots, 6 of them heavy, by the way. He goes down, gets up, his brain might be fine, not straight away, but he might be fine, but his legs were all over the place, and he's come to the corner, and right by his corner, by the way, right on his corner, and he's up against there, and the referee's talking to him, counting, and he's not responding. He's not showing any response. I think he's holding the ropes there. That's what I think. He's holding the ropes because he's not sure his legs are steady. So that's anchoring him in. That is. He doesn't want to turn round because I think he's worried that if he turns round, he does go like that, and the referee stops it. So he's doing what he thinks is right for himself. He got up too early. That's the problem. That's the problem he had. He turns round. He might have been looking to continue, but I got no problem with the stoppage. The referee turns round, sees him. He's at 8 now. By the way, 8. He's just about to go 9, and then it's not 9-10 now. It's 9 and out.
Yeah.
So he's going 8, and he turns around. So he's obviously not going to look fantastic, is he? He's obviously stressed out and knackered, and his eyes might not have been great, and his referee's just gone, nah, no good. You got to make a choice like that, the referee.
Yeah.
I thought it was the right on the night there. I thought it was the right choice because I'm right there with him, and I thought it was the right choice on the night. When you look back, I can see two ways as well. By the way, I still think yeah, that was the right choice, but I can understand why people don't think it's the right choice. But ultimately, he's taken 6 really heavy shots, and he went down quite heavy, and his legs, and he wobbled back to the corner. And whether the bell's gone, you got a minute rest, or whether it's at the end of the round or whatever it is, that's irrelevant. It shouldn't be, but it is. Now, I know I'll give him a minute to recover, but then you give him a minute to recover, the corner not going to pull him out, and then he might take another battering, or they argue he goes on to win the fight. But I think it was the right call. In real time, I thought it was the right call. I would say that.
Andy?
Yeah, I'm the same, and it's really interesting to hear what it looked like from ringside because I was watching at home, so I saw the pictures that everybody else saw, and my initial reaction was that it was the right call because I don't feel like the referee had any other choice really but to do what he did, because what he saw, and as we say, he gets one shot at this in real time, but you just got to look at what did the referee see, what evidence did he have in front of him. He sees a fighter get hit numerous times, goes down hard, gets up probably too quickly, unsteady, goes back to his corner as he's counting, back to him, still counting, doesn't turn around until it's too late, to be honest, because 8 is the magic number when it comes to the count. They want to see something by then. And he did turn around on 8.5, but by that stage he'd already waved it over because he didn't engage with the referee. He didn't show him anything. And that might be because he slightly misheard the count or whatever it was, but he didn't show him anything. If he turned around 2 seconds earlier, he may have been a little bit wobbly, like Barry said, but at that point, the referee might bring the fact that the round is over into it in his own head. And if Josh had turned around a little bit quicker and said, "No, I'm fine, give me the minute," the referee might have given him the minute because it's a world title fight. You know, they don't paint by numbers, refs. You know, everything is at their discretion, and experienced referees will do things sometimes that they're not really supposed to do when they're assessing a situation, but that their experience tells them is the best thing to do. So I feel like if he turned around a little bit quicker, even if he was still not completely solid, but said, "No, give me the minute," again, because it's a world title fight, I think he would have had to have had a real good think about that, the referee. But on the basis of what he actually saw, which was someone get badly hurt, unsteady, walked away, back to him, on the basis of that, you stop it, don't you?
Well, there's an argument to say when he gets up, because when he gets up, he's all over the place and he goes into the corner. If the referee, when he's going like this, when he goes all over the place, and he gets up too quick and he wobbles all over the place, the referee goes like that. No one's saying anything. He's going to go, and even Warrington at the time, or his dad, they're all going to go, because he looked terrible going to the corner. And you're fair enough, he's up too early, he's going to get hurt now. So it would have been one of those, because he had those few seconds against the ropes. Then they're going, the bell went, and it was all. I can't remember when did the bell go before?
The bell went as he hits the canvas. Yeah. So the klaxon.
So they got to give that standing 8 count, haven't they?
Yeah. You continue with the count.
It's the 8 count. I think
can't be saved by the bell.
We've seen a couple of different angles that have been kind of circulated on social media now. We've seen kind of Warrington with his face to the corner, and then he turns around and Michael Alexander waves it off. The Warrington camp and the corner up on the ring apron, which I think can kind of go one of two ways. That can look bad if you look at it in the certain...
If they've heard the bell, though, they're up, innit?
Exactly. So that's the other way about it. It can look bad in a sense of like the corner being up and being as he comes over.
I think technically they shouldn't be, because the round's not over until
he beats the count.
Finishes,
Yeah. So
but you're not going to disqualify someone for that.
No, but again, it kind of... From Warrington's perspective, the corner are up there because they're ready to work on him. He's just been dropped. They want to get the stall in, want to get working on him. But I just wonder whether or not that has kind of played a part in the whole story. Really,
well, the
for
referee
Mike
might
Alexander.
look at that and feel like they want to stop the fight.
Yeah,
I'm repeating myself, but you've just got to think about what did the referee actually see.
You've seen 7 shots, 6 heavy shots.
Yeah.
You've seen the guy fall head back like that.
Yeah.
And then get up and go to his corner all over the place.
And not engage.
That's what he's seen.
And not engage.
And
he
people
didn't get to see his face. Like, I know he turns around, but that was the first time he got to see his face post, like, looking at him.
Can he take a second or two longer, do you think, when he turns around? Because when he turns around, Warrington, it is... I'm just playing devil's advocate. When he turns around, it's waved off fairly immediately as he turns around.
This is what I mean when I say referees sometimes will do things that maybe they're not really supposed to do, and give someone a bit more time and say, walk towards me, rub the gloves, walk towards me again. Are you okay? Have a really good look. Are you all right? People are watching it and screaming their heads off about a long count, but this is what happens. Experienced referees will do that. They will give a fighter every chance, particularly in a world title fight. Whether they should or not is a different argument. And I saw an interview with Sean O'Hagan where he said, I thought it was a 10 count. And I understand what he's saying. Like, Josh did turn around on, like, bang on 8.5, and maybe I can see why they feel the referee should at that point have really looked at him and then made the decision.
But it's not a 10 count. He's on his feet, though. That's the thing with the count. So he's got knocked down.
But it's 8 because he's got to his feet.
So I mean, so you're not going to 10, are you? So anyway, you're only going to 8, aren't you? Because he's up.
Yeah, 8's the magic number, but at the same time, all of these things, there is.
No, but I want to say it reinforces whether if he stopped it, because if he's on the floor, he's counting 8, 9, and out. But when when you get up, you'll still count to 8.
Yeah.
Give you the time that standing 8 count as such.
Yeah.
So he's not going beyond 8 anyway. Actually, so I never really thought about that until just now. He's over that number's there.
8 is the number. You've got to show him something by 8, and he did it. Babe, he just should have turned around sooner.
If the referee, I don't know what that is. You've got rats. It's because I'm leaving these sugars everywhere. That's why. But if he turns around, right? If the referee says walk to me, if he turns around, he does what he did. Turns around. The referee says walk to me. Let's have a look at you. The referee takes his time and says walk to me. He lets it continue. He does,
because
but you've got to make that choice there and then.
Yeah,
and he's counting to 8, and that's the last number he's going to call, and he turns around on that.
And he's already waving his arms at that.
And for what he's seen and all the rest of it.
That's it. You can only go on what he's seen, and what he's seen is someone who's just showing him his back, and that is what you do if you don't want to continue, isn't it?
But it's a gutter for Warrington, because he was boxing so well.
Completely. Yeah,
he was boxing so well in a fight where I didn't think he had that last big fight, that big engine in him. I thought the Lopez fight was a telling sign that he lost that bit of edge. I thought lost that a little bit of intensity, but he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He really was. But it don't matter. This sport more than any other. It don't matter what you're doing, because ultimately you get caught, don't you? That's the end of it. That's the beauty of the sport, the beauty and the cruelty of the sport. You can be 11 rounds and 2 minutes and 55 seconds up in a fight, and win every second of that duration, and you get caught with a shot. Meldrick Taylor versus Chavez. Yeah, we can go on forever, can't we? But
well, that's the thing. It's kind of like, I feel like we're in a position where you have the black and white of the rules, and then the grey area that we all love to exist in or not, or depending on kind of what situation that we're in. I think by the letter of the law, you can definitely see why the fight was stopped, and I think it's a correct stoppage. But if you're Josh Warrington, kind of what you mentioned earlier about, I mean, you consider the hammer that he took, not necessarily right or wrong, against Mauricio Lara in the first fight, and the fact that it is a world title fight that he's winning. Again, these are intangibles that should not impact on the referee's decision at all.
No.
but they do sometimes,
I
and it's
think
only that natural kind of element of the sport where it does.
In that kind of situation, like everything's at the discretion of the referee, and if you've got a good experienced referee, that is a good thing. And I don't mind if the count takes. The count is generally.
In New York, they have them doing a cha-cha slide and all sorts.
I don't mind all of that. You know, you use your experience and you assess the situation, and the fact that the bell had gone and he's got then an extra minute, I think for an experienced referee in a really big fight, that can, and I would probably say should, enter into it. What doesn't, and I saw a few people came back to me with this and said, oh, should have given him the extra minute because it's a world title fight and he was well ahead. That doesn't make any difference. Like the fact that he was winning, that has no bearing for the referee. But other than that, you are in a slightly grey area. All fighters will look at Warrington and you'll feel sympathy, won't you? All of you, because you'll feel like, come on, like if that were you, and you'd all be the same, you'd think you've got to give me a chance there.
I thought it was the right choice, but again, like I said earlier, like if I was Warrington, I'd be fuming. Because when it's you don't see it the same way. You don't see it unemotionally. I don't care if Warrington gets stopped. I don't care if Leigh Wood gets stopped. I mean, I don't want to get hurt, but I don't care who wins or loses the fight, ultimately. So I'm watching it from a basis of as a fan. As a neutral, it's the best place to watch a fight, isn't it? As a neutral, you don't care who wins. You just want to see a good fight, and we saw a good fight. But even the fight he was winning, it was hard for him, by the way. He wasn't winning easily. I mean, he was winning.
He was having to work to win the round.
He was miles ahead, but I mean, there was always that danger with Wood. So, the referee's watching that. Maybe the referee doesn't have anything in his mind. Maybe he sees those 6 shots and goes 7 shots and those 6 heavy shots, I certainly, and goes, oh, I can't take any more of those. People say, oh, that was Josh Warrington, and and he deserves the opportunity, how tough he is, and he's far ahead, it's a world title fight. But in that moment, the referee's in that moment. You might not see that. Sometimes your corner doesn't pull the fighter out. And you go, when you put him out? It's because sometimes they're consumed just like a boxer is, just trying to win the fight. And they almost don't see that their fighter's in that much trouble. They just get to the corner and try and win the fight. You're so focused on trying to win the fight because your whole build-up to a fight is just about winning the fight. It's not about, even as a coach who has never trained anybody, you're not thinking, right, all you're thinking about is, how we win the fight, how we win the fight. You're not thinking, how we win the fight. But if he gets hurt, I gotta make sure I'm aware he might get hurt, so I might have to stop it. That don't enter your brain, so you're immersed in the action. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, of course.
And for the referee, might be the same for the referee. He's only human. He's immersed in the action, and he just sees, and he's seen him get bang, 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 poof. Yeah, wobbly back to his corner, and he's going 1, 2, and he might be thinking, "Turn round, you bastard!" And he hasn't turned round. Oh, mate, you sorry, poof.
No, I think
it's not a panic. It's just an instant reaction. You're not right.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, because it all does happen really quickly, and referees have a lot of things to think about. Somebody hits the deck and the timekeeper starts counting. You've got to get the other fighter back to the neutral corner. You've got to pick up the count, and then you've got to assess the situation. And you haven't got very long to do it.
And by the way, these are referees. He had 60 odd fights, I think.
Michael Alexander.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Michael Alexander. He's certainly not doing
he knows what it's like.
Knows what he's doing,
he knows exactly how it likes and how it feels. He might not know it's like a world level, but getting punched in the face, getting hurt, and being in trouble, he knows what it's like, and he knows and you can know when somebody's hurt or when someone's trying not to pretend they're hurt. He was unsteady on his legs. He was using those ropes. He wasn't. You think about this corner and go, oh. He went back to those ropes to steady himself. He did the right thing. Actually, he got up too early. When he realised, like, I'm not steady here, and he didn't. If he felt he was ready to continue, Warrington, he wouldn't have gone to his corner. He just would have turned around, wouldn't he, and gone, come on. Especially Josh Warrington.
It's just the instinct to get up, isn't it?
Well, I think the bell going as well at the time where it went is a big factor in all of this, because it's quite rare that the bell will sound as a knockout shot or some heavy knockdown will land at the time. That just throws a different kind of element to all of it then. Whether or not even that's at the time even considered by the referee or Josh Warrington, you don't really know, but it is it's not a normal knockdown to happen at that stage of a round, so it kind of adds that extra little bit of uncertainty to all of it, doesn't it?
Because there's not that minute. There's not that minute. All of a sudden, that minute's gone down to like 20 seconds. So you know what I mean. All of a sudden, by the time he sits down, you got to get up again.
It absolutely does, and it does. It makes it fascinating, because you could argue, Well, the round's over, so why does he have to demonstrate that he's fit to continue? He just needs to be fit to continue by the start of the next round, doesn't he? So what if he walks over to his corner and shows the referee his back? Can't he just walk over and they put the stool in and sit down? And, and that's that, because he's got back on his feet. And logically, that makes quite a lot of sense, actually. But because you're still in the fight at that point, you do need, the referee will want to, he will want to see that you're there, that you're okay, that you're able to continue, even if you are then going to get another 40 seconds. If it was right at the very end of the fight, it's different because the fight's finished then. There is nothing to be fit and ready to continue for. So, think about the end of Rocky, where they're both trying to drag themselves up off the ropes, and Rocky does it and Apollo doesn't, and the fight's over. At that point, you've just got to get back to your feet and stay there, basically. But because it was the end of a round, not the end of the fight, it's great, isn't it? You could talk about it all day, really. And I don't think there is necessarily a wrong answer.
Because again, I agree it was the right decision. But then, if I'm sure, again, forget about Josh Warrington. If I'm sure O'Hagan, I'm fuming. Let me deal with him. I know him. I'll get him ready. I'll sit him down. I'll get him focused, and I'll know if he's not ready. And I'll pull him out. He wouldn't have.
You didn't pull him out in the first Lara
No.
fight.
So, but you go. Let me make that decision, not you. Like that. No. And so I understand why they're going to be fuming about it all. But it is what it is. But it was a good fight, and I worry about the loss actually for Warrington because, he was winning. Like it's one of the things you win the fight. I was winning that fight. I was boxing well, and now I did one, and then I just got caught with a good shot, and then it unravelled. But at this stage of his career, that's one win in 5 fights, I think.
Yeah.
And that's like all of a sudden now you're thinking like, maybe it's just no.
It was interesting to hear him at the end say, didn't he? If this is the last one, and he was kind of addressing the fans, and I just think that any fighter, but particularly one who's been a world champion, and I think that's going to be a really difficult one to go out on for the reasons that Barry just said, that he will just be telling himself, I was winning, I should have been allowed to continue, I could still have won. So I think we will see him again, because I just don't think he'll be able to go out off the back of that. There are too many question marks for him.
Yeah, I agree. Something that we've spoken about a lot with various different fighters over the however long we've been doing this bloody pod, where it's kind of rationalising that to yourself. And he does have two very obvious things that he can cling on to there. The fact that he was winning the fight. And look, we've spoken about it in the past. Winning the fight in the 7th round is not winning the fight in the 11th or the 12th round. It's just past halfway. There's a lot still to go. And we've seen how dangerous Leigh Wood can be right to the very end of the fight, as Michael Collin can attest to. And then the way that the fight ended. I spoke to Josh on the Sunday and he was devastated. He said that the other 2 losses were one thing. He said, but he was in control, by his words. I'm sure he won't mind me saying, I was pissing it. And then he got caught by a shot. And obviously we're at the stage of his career now where he's 33. He's kind of achieved what he's wanted to achieve. We've heard for years about wanting to take that kind of Leeds roadshow to Las Vegas. That was very much the plan right up to that Mauricio Lara fight, the first fight in February 2021. Is that gone now, do you think, Barry?
I don't think so, but his bargaining chip is lessening, reduced again, I would say. So I don't know, what opportunity does he get? I mean, I think he's in the right sort of area because, him boxing, Joe Cordina, him boxing Warrington or Wood is a great fight and a sellable fight, by the way. I would say I don't know how well it does on the gate, but it's a good fight. It's a good fight for trade fight certainly, and at world level. So I think he'd get the opportunity, but he wouldn't get in the rankings. Maybe the fight.
I think he'd probably need. This is kind of where we're at with him now, isn't it? With Warrington. It's unlikely that he's going to be able to box for a world title unless they do the Wood rematch again at 126, which I can't see, on the back of 2 losses.
To get a Wood rematch, they would but this is what should happen because he lost, he got stopped, so that's a conclusive finish on paper. So Wood moves on. So he shouldn't be next. Yeah,
so he should. Just kind of, if he's going to box for a world title next, you'd expect him to have a comeback fight. You have to have a 10-rounder against somebody for a trinket to get back in the ranking.
Him and Leigh Wood, a super featherweight as a 10-rounder
for no title, which could be an option. Yeah. But if you're Leigh Wood, I mean, we'll kind of do it all in one, I suppose. But what comes next for all of them? If you're Leigh Wood, you want that big city ground fight. Joe Cordina is a world title fight. It's in-house.
Yeah.
Does it sell? Does it sell out at a stadium like
It
that?
doesn't sell as well as Warrington if there's no title on the
Or
line.
Conlon? Does it sell as well as Wood Conlon too?
Conlon's
boxing, Jordan Gill. I think there's something to be done with Warrington, Conlon, Wood. There's something to be done there. If let's say Leigh Wood goes and boxes,
Gill is super featherweight. Sorry, that's a super featherweight. I think,
but
isn't it?
he's not. He can make featherweight if he wants to. Yeah, but it's at super featherweight. Yeah, but I mean, he's
That's more down to Jordan, I think. Probably.
yeah, and Conlon on the back of being stopped. You know,
Yeah.
But I think he'd
That's
still
a
be
good
able
card,
to.
actually.
Yeah, really good card.
Great
I hope you're going to make it out for that.
Matchroom going back to Belfast.
But if you've got,
always love going there.
let's say Wood boxes Cordina or Wood boxes. I mean, Ben Davison told me, I put a clip out on the Sunday. He told me 3-4 weeks before the fight that the fight they want is the Navarrete fight. It's mad, but that's the fight that they want to bring him over. Then I think Warrington versus Conlon's a big fight. You don't need a belt for that. Yeah. You could do that in Belfast. You could do that in Leeds. You could do that in Manchester, neutral ground, and you get Leeds versus Belfast. That's a big fight. Doesn't need a title for that. And then the winner of that could fight for a world title. You know, I'm sure Conlon will be well ranked. He is still well ranked across the board at featherweight. I know that's at super featherweight. Warrington beats Conlon or vice versa, then you know they get ranked in either featherweight or super featherweight, I'm pretty sure. So I think there's definitely still something to be done, but it kind of depends on who Leigh Wood chooses for City Ground.
What do you think Eddie's thinking about this? Do you think he might be wanting to try and steer Wood away from Navarrete, not because he doesn't believe in him, but just
the title outside the stable either, do you? Really? Mind you, he won't have one. He'll be boxing super featherweight.
But do you think he might think, do we really need to go and fight him? Because what are the chances of getting Navarrete over here?
Well,
I mean, you
have to pay him a lot of money.
Yeah.
And is he going to bring the money to the gate? No.
It's Cordina. Cordina doesn't want to fight outside the card. If he's boxing in Monte Carlo in November, and then he's going to go, what? I'm the champion. I got to go to Nottingham. But that's just, you get paid for it. That's why.
Sometimes that's how it is for you, isn't it?
Well, Wood's the A side, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Cordina's the more talented fighter. He's the champion, I think. But that's not the A side. There's a more commercial value, as we know. So that it's going to be Wood. But then, for Hearn, he keeps Cordina happy by giving a defence, and a domestic world title fight, which is always good for his profile. And for Wood, he gets a chance to be a 2-weight world champion.
And box at City Ground as well.
Box at the City Ground. And also stays away from Navarrete. Because I don't know what... Like, Ben Davison's a fantastic coach. It really is. But, like, I don't see the reason about wanting to fight Navarrete. That's just a crazy thing.
Maybe he might feel different after the fight.
Maybe
he said it 3 weeks before,
so
you never know.
Maybe he wants to go and fight in the US. Maybe that's what it is.
Potentially. He'd spoken about it.
Shaki Foster's better for the team.
He's boxing Rocky Hernandez, isn't he? That's a really good fight.
There's another problem with him boxing in America, though, which is that last time we knew, Ben Davison,
I don't know if he can get in. Leigh Wood was over there for Josh Taylor. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see with that. But I think Wood has two choices really. Either the City Ground, you can do Warrington there or Conlon there, but it's a non-title fight. If you want the world title fight, I think Cordina is realistically the only option.
Yeah.
But I think is a much harder fight than both the Conlon and the Warrington fights. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I can't see he beats Cordina. If he beats Cordina, let's not get this wrong. If he beats Cordina, he's getting his ears boxed off, and all of a sudden he finds a punch he's like Conlon. It's one of those.
Warrington.
Yeah, well, no, but I think Cordina will be more.
Well, he's bigger, isn't he? He's a big super featherweight as well,
and he's technically a lot better than all the others.
Yeah,
maybe not Conlon technically better, but I mean he's a much better school boxer, and he thinks better, and I think he'll have some. Well, and he's strong, and he's better. Oh, by the way, he's massive as super featherweight.
He boxed at lightweight, didn't he?
He is a lightweight. He's a lightweight. That's what he is, really. So that's a hard fight for Leigh Wood, but. He's Leigh Wood, isn't he? So he's
he'll fancy it 100%.
He always got a chance.
No,
but he always got a chance because he's shown it time and time again. He always got a chance, and he had his power late, as he's shown against Kanzu. He boxed brilliant in that against Kanzu, but he still got the stoppage late.
If Cordina didn't have a title, he would be bottom of the list, wouldn't he? Because I would expect Cordina to win that fight. Which sounds a bit foolish given what Wood's achieved recently, but I would pick Cordina in that fight. But he has got a title, so obviously that's really appealing. But a non-title fight against one of the other two, the fact that there's no title on the line in terms of the marketability of it, I just don't think matters at all.
No, I agree. And you've got Conlon versus Gill in November, so in about a month's time. When's that card?
11th.
11th, yeah. So just over a month's time. Let's say Conlon wins that fight. I have Conlon a fairly strong favourite over Jordan Gill in that fight. We could see Conlon go straight into either Wood or Warrington. It'd have to be summer next year if they're going to do Wood at the City Ground, so July next year. You could do Warrington versus Conlon early next year. That would work. I mean, obviously it's a quick turnaround for Conlon, but I mean for Warrington, as much as he was stopped in the fight, it wasn't a particularly punishing fight for him this past weekend. Obviously the knockout was very punishing in sort of isolation.
Warrington Cordina is a really good fight as well. They're all good fights.
And I think Warrington probably will have no problem being ranked by the IBF as well. He's a 2-time IBF champion. They'll rank him at super featherweight, I'm sure. But he may need a 10-rounder. He may need to come and box somebody at super featherweight. He's not going to want to, but if that's the only way that he's going to get a big fight, what's the alternative? Sit around and wait for somebody to throw you a bone?
I don't think he's ever taken a warm-up fight again. I think he retires before he does that. Because every fight's a risk, and if he loses a 10-rounder against someone who's nowhere near that level but still half decent, which can happen, because they're boxing Josh Warrington. It's the fight of their life. To him, it's just a tune-up. Yeah, he's done. His career's done then, isn't it? So he's not doing that. And also the money. He's used to that level now, and the money might have come down a little bit recently, by the way, for him. He's not going to drop down. You take this for like X amount, and he's going to go no chance.
Yeah, box on.
Yeah, but it's just to get you back up there. No chance.
It is a difficult position to be in, isn't it? We were talking about Josh Taylor a few weeks ago, and it's not exactly the same, but
big fights or no fights.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
Ideally,
he does have a kind of getting to know you fight in the welterweight division, but I mean, who against? Because he's got to win, but money and all the rest of it gets tricky.
But he's lucky. He can have a big fight without having to fight for a title.
Yeah,
Josh Taylor that way. But I mean, for Warrington, there are no big names, except really that at super featherweight. There's no huge standout superstars. No. So it's fighting for titles. Actually, the two biggest names commercially have just moved into the division. Wood and Warrington are probably the big over here.
At super featherweight.
They're not saying that they're not the best fighters there in that weight division, but they're the most marketable.
Super featherweight. So Sharky Foster's got the WBC. Hector Luis Garcia's got the WBA. WBO is Navarrete, and the IBF is Joe Cordina.
Yeah, exactly.
So all hard fights, and I think Cordina is obviously the most. So if you're Wood or Warrington, that's obviously the biggest fight because it's a domestic fight.
Of course,
and if you're Matchroom, that's the fight that you can have sole control over.
Shaki Foster's Matchroom, isn't he?
He's boxing on a Matchroom card. I'm not sure whether or not he's signed with them. So he's boxing Eduardo Rocky Hernandez in a really good fight. So
that's possibly he is actually. But if he gets through that, that's possibly maybe Warrington's trip to Vegas.
Well, I was
on an undercard of somebody
potentially, and I was also thinking this: if Warrington wants to stay at featherweight, and he said after the fight that he still makes the weight easily, I didn't see anything in the fight that made me think.
But I can't believe he still does though. I mean, I believe him, but I mean, he still does because he's like.
Because he looked full of energy on Friday. When we were, I only went up to the weigh-in, so I went up to the weigh-in and saw them weigh in, and he looked gaunt in the face, but he's got that kind of bone structure anyway. Warrington,
he looked gaunt in the face until he stood next to Wood, and he looked great.
And then he looked great. But the body was fine. There wasn't like the sucked in belly or anything like that, and he actually looked well
on the big screen. Ronald McIntyre scores in the jumbotron. This is fucking brilliant. It's brilliant. I said sorry for swearing. Like I never swear here.
It's all right, yeah.
But and he had a picture of Warrington, like a still picture of him looking in the mirror, and he looked like a super heavy. He looked like a bodybuilder, man. He looked massive. He had a big pecs, and muscle. I went, look at him. I fancy him, man. He looked like an Adonis, man. He looked massive.
He looked very physically strong.
9 stone. He's making 9 stone.
Yeah. The way he's just such a model professional, isn't he? And such a great example to.
And he was bang up for the fight
in so many ways.
Do you know what,
but one of those ways is he's always lived the life, isn't he?
Leigh Wood is the boxing story.
Yeah.
Leigh Wood. He's the boxing story. Like he's a boxing story from long before people were picking superstars and packaging them up. He's the boxing story from some kid who walks into the gym and it's okay, but he's not great. And he has obviously has ability because he did have ability. He was a good. He's not. People say he can't box. He's always boxed, but was never a standout probably ever in the gym or anything. And he just worked hard, and has something you can't teach, which is innate toughness and a not give a shit attitude, and just made success by keep trying, and not feeling sorry for yourself when you get beat. He's the proper boxing story. Like he is. It's just amazing. He's amazing. It's a film, I think.
Yeah, you never would have predicted it. I mean, he lost to Gav McDonald, didn't he, nearly 10 years ago, and that would have been at super bantamweight.
Yeah, it was for British time.
And then he moved up, and I remember commentating on him on a couple of Channel 5 undercards, probably like 2016, around then, or maybe he was supposed to be on them, and then actually in the end wasn't. He was going absolutely nowhere. He just couldn't get fights. He was calling out fights for the English title. That's where he was basically, and just couldn't get anything going at all. They then won a Commonwealth title. We had him on a Matchroom show early 2019. I think he, like Jordan, because they're big pals obviously, he'd signed with Dave Colwell. Dave got him on a Matchroom show at an easy fight for a Commonwealth title, and I was going to say it's gone from there, but
as a favour to Dave Colwell, probably.
He had a setback after that. Yeah, exactly. It would have been. Yeah, he had a setback after that. You know, in the Golden Contract. And I remember that fight against Reece Mould really well, because Reece Mould's Warrington's stablemate. Yeah. So the idea there was that Reece Mould was going to win that fight. Basically, he was close. Like, no one was, and Leigh Wood was the Matchroom guy, but going into it during the week, I think people were probably thinking that Reece Mould would probably win that fight. And then when Leigh won, everybody, because he's a very likeable guy, people were very pleased for him, and it's great. He's got a British title, a Commonwealth title. We never would have thought that a few years ago. And then next thing we know, he's in Eddie's back garden, beating up Kanju. And we've seen what we've seen since. I mean, it's really
let's be honest,
just incredible.
That Kanzu fight was pretty much like, he gets to say he boxed for a world title.
Yeah,
it was a cheap option for Eddie to get a world title fight on. That's the truth of it, probably, because
Josh losing derailed everything, didn't it?
Yeah, and Kanzu might have cost a couple of quid to get over, relatively for his weight. So they give Leigh Wood he probably got absolutely piss poor paid for that, but he didn't care, because it's an opportunity for the world title, so you just say yes and don't worry about anything. And he didn't want to, and he didn't. What was impressive about that, he didn't only, he boxed so well. Like, Ben Davison showed his worth. He earned his money for that, because he didn't just outbox the guy. He didn't just stop him. Sorry, he outboxed him. Like, the stoppage was just the cherry on the cake. But I mean, it was more impressive the way he outboxed him, how disciplined he was, and some people just rise to the occasion. So he's gone from nowhere to showing he's world level, and look at the people he's beat. Let's be honest.
It's really. I mean,
it's mad, isn't
it's incredible.
Mauricio Lara was like the monster of the weight division, and he stands him on his head. I know he got knocked out by him, but he was beating him before that.
Well, he went back into the rematch, and everyone's like, it's too soon. Go back into the rematch. Just got knocked out.
So clever going quick.
Yeah.
I don't see how he won't win Fighter of the Year, because he's had 3 fights this year, which in itself is pretty unusual. Goes straight back into a rematch with a wrecking machine, wins it, and then that win on Saturday. I'm not saying that other people won't be able to do things to put themselves in the mix, but it's funny, because I remember being at the Board Awards back in March time, and it wasn't that long after he'd lost that first fight against Lara, and you go around the tables and you introduce people and all the rest of it, and with Leigh, because they'd won Fight of the Year, him and Michael. Leigh was there, Michael wasn't. Michael Conlon, and we're chatting to him on stage and just saying, you've given incredible entertainment, but you'll be back, and all this kind of stuff. And I think it was before he'd announced the rematch. But in my head, I was probably kind of thinking to myself, what a wild ride it's been. But not that it was over, but I didn't see him winning that rematch against Lara. Yeah. I just didn't.
What about if Sonny Edwards beats Bam Rodriguez?
Yeah. Of course, he'd be unified, wouldn't he? And that would be...
Just trying to think in my head of any other potentials. I think that's probably it. Do you think that gets him there? I mean, the fact Leigh Wood's boxed 3 times this year, 3 world title fights is great, but he was knocked out in one of those fights.
Yeah, he was, but that makes the story better in a way.
But he's boxing 3 times. That he deserves it just for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Edwards will be second time. Has he boxed twice already this year, Sonny, or just once? He boxed
No, just the one.
Just
He
have a
boxed
look now.
Alvarado late last year, didn't he?
Yeah, November last year, so he would have only boxed twice this year.
Cordina boxed twice this year, and a really good fight against Rakhimov. And then he boxed Vasquez, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Depending on how that goes.
But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. He certainly put himself in the window for that. Just final one on Warrington. We've kind of veered in and out. That American Dream. Do you think it's done now? Do you think he can manage that, or do you think it's going to have to be?
I think it's probably done now. Unfortunately, it's you look at what's happened for Leigh, and then you look at what's happened to Josh, and it's a pretty stark contrast, isn't it? And I've said this before on here a few times, but you know, COVID was a complete disaster for Josh career-wise, and it wasn't good for anyone, and I understand that, but there are levels, and for him it was an absolute disaster because, you know, he boxed sort of late-ish 2019 against Sofiane Sakoucht, which was his first sort of gimme as a world champion,
Yeah, well, I remember,
which he deserved. After that, he re-signed with Eddie, and there were big plans, and they all involved Vegas and unifications, and then we had COVID, and by the time he did get back in the ring against Lara, already a few things had kind of gone wrong because he had to vacate, didn't he? Because they were hoping for unification and there were political problems and all that kind of thing. And then he got in with Lara, and it was a complete disaster. And you know, I feel for him because the timing of it, the pandemic was terrible. It was really terrible. It was there for him. And I feel like it probably isn't now. Painful though that is. It does pain me to say it because you look at someone who he did everything right, absolutely everything right, every step of the way, and then something you could never have seen coming did have a really big impact on his career.
I'm not sure it has gone.
I think it's there. I with you. Actually, I think it is there. I think maybe.
In what circumstances?
Well, so you've got Ray Vargas boxing Brandon Figueroa for the WBC. I think that's happening before the end of the year.
That's a good fight.
Really good fight. The winner of that fight's going to need a dance partner. Neither are tremendously big ticket sellers. Does he headline as an A-side at the MGM Grand? I think probably not, unless he goes over there and wins a fight in spectacular fashion and then could kind of have another lease of life, so to speak. But, you know, that's a fight that could headline somewhere, like Ray Vargas or Brandon Figueroa versus Josh Warrington. It's a brilliant fight. Brilliant fight. What a fight that is.
It's a really good fight.
Robeisy Ramirez has still got a belt at featherweight. Like, I don't profess to...
Yeah, don't want to fight him.
Sure, but if you want to box in America,
Yeah,
you know, that's what you want to do. And at this stage, I don't think Josh Warrington's scared of fighting Robeisy Ramirez and Manuel or whoever.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it might be a case that you have to take that on shorter money than you used to in the past. And obviously, you're not the A side anymore. And again, it's not going to be bells and whistles. But
they will be able to say to the promoter, listen, you'll bring 10,000.
Exactly that.
And I think,
and that currency's not going anywhere.
I think he takes more to Vegas than he takes to the City Ground. I think he realizes, he sort of said himself, they don't want to watch me anymore. They want to go to Vegas, and that's it.
And those people who maybe, I mean, I'm certainly not suggesting that there has been a significant wane, but potentially people who have been on the journey and maybe aren't as involved in the journey now will hear, oh, Vegas, oh, we've been wanting to do that since this, we've been wanting to do that since then, and then they can go. So I don't know. I think, and if he goes up to super featherweight and he boxes an Emmanuel Navarrete,
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
He goes to the super featherweight, and if Hearn has a Shaki Foster, again, you've got to go on the undercard of someone else. But I mean, that's a ready-made fight for us, an easy-made fight for him. He has a voluntary, and no, I'm sure there wouldn't be an issue getting him somewhere in the ratings of the WBC. Exactly. The boxing being the way it is.
I mean, it won't be the same. It won't be the. Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Obviously, it won't be the same circumstances as it could have been.
Yeah. But maybe you never know if he goes over there and if he boxes, I think he's not going to get that fight as a favourite.
He's not going over there getting 7 figures anymore.
Nah, and he's not going to go over there and be a favourite in the fight. He's going to have to go over there and beat a Brandon Figueroa, beat a Robeisy Ramirez, beat an Emmanuel Navarrete if he wants to then have the big... Saw Leo Santa Cruz after Canelo Charlo.
Like Barry said, that kind of really is then rolling back the years, isn't it, for him and for the fans, because that's what he always was. Yeah. You know, I know.
They think I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. He didn't always have big support. He had to work really hard for it. But once he got it, and he was in Leeds all the time, obviously, You know, you look at it and you think, well, he's got everything in his favour. He's expected to win, but he was questioned every step of the way, wasn't he? Every step of the way.
The Selby fight, like I was just saying, it was on Box Nation at the time. I was going, listen, I can't see any way that he wins. It's simple. There's no way. I remember saying he deserves his opportunity because he's done everything right. You know, he's beat the people to get to where he is. He deserves the fight, but he's coming against a guy here who he can't beat. He just can't beat Selby. I was going to beat him. There's no way. When you see what Warrington could do at his best at that point, and what Selby could do at his best, and it wasn't even a competitive match on paper. I was getting death threats, by the way, for that.
From Sean O'Hagan
on Twitter. Not sure. No, from people from Leeds, because they thought look, I haven't lived in Wales for 23.5 years, but they thought I must have been living next door to Selby. He's my best mate and the rest of it. By the way, I got abuse from people from Barry Island because I said Barry Island was a shithole because Warrington said something about. Like,
so you think you're a bad man? You're from Barry?
You're from a seaside resort, and I sort of hang on a minute, like Barry, because Barry Town's rough and hard. They're hard, the people there, like, but it's a beautiful place as well. I would, just in case you're watching, don't want to start that again. But I mean, I was getting abuse from everywhere. I couldn't go home. I couldn't go to Leeds. When I went to Leeds for that fight, working for the broadcast, I was scared. So I was going to get hiding. I was going to wear my Cardiff City top. First of all, I thought. Then I lost my bottle dramatically. We're going
that might have worked.
We're going to have that.
But I mean, this bloke must be mental.
That was a fight he was never going to win. He was never going to win that fight, ever. To be honest, even a weight drain, Lee Selby. I just thought he's just going to he's too big and he's got great jab and great feet and great judgment distance and Selby Warren's going to rush him. He gets just pinged to pieces. And he outboxed him. He didn't beat him like he didn't beat him. He didn't get involved in a war. He outboxed Selby. And it was fantastic. And then again with Frampton, I went, it's a great fight, but it's like stylistically, the way he fights Warrington, coming at you, throwing lots of punches against someone like Frampton who got power, good timing, spins around the target. I thought, there's no way he beats Frampton. No way he beats him. Like, and he just, in those first 3 rounds, it was like the best first 3 rounds I've seen for such a long time. I haven't seen a better first 3 rounds since, I would say. It was absolutely fantastic in Manchester. December, whatever it was, 2019, yeah, and 18, sorry, yeah, and he's just a brilliant performance. So he's proved time, and now again, he can go to Vegas and then go as an underdog, but it'll be sellable to them because they'll say like a Shaki Foster probably can't sell any tickets because America don't do it like us today, but they go, he can be we can pack out like the Cosmopolitan,
something like that, Mandalay Bay or something like that.
You know what I mean. But we get like, if you say 10,000, so say they say 10,000 Leeds fans, but it might be 5.
But they'll drink like 20,000.
It might be 5,000, by the way. But 5,000 anywhere in Vegas is no one brings seats. That's a huge fight. So like wherever it goes, if it goes to the Palm. That's a great little venue. I mean, they take too many people for that. I wouldn't. You'd have to go to a Mandalay Bay, which is like 9,000 Mandalay Bay, something like that. I think that something like that would be perfect. So I think that it is there for Warrington. It may be a kind of a revised version of his Vegas experience, but look, he goes over there, he wins a brilliant fight. Then you never know. The next one could be over there. Like PBC have got options at featherweight and super featherweight. I don't know what Josh Warrington's contractual situation is with Matchroom. That is a potential for him to go and do something there. Hector Luis Garcia's.
Maybe he does need something kind of like really new like that, because it's just not happening for him, is it? I know he got the win against Martinez and got the title, but it's just not
1 win in 5.
Exactly. And another thing Sean said in the bit I watched, it wasn't all that long, but he did say, we don't seem to be, or maybe we're not flavour of the month anymore. And I know what he means by that. You're literally that. Everybody wants you to win. Maybe decisions will go your way more, or decisions like the one on Saturday, would you be given that minute and all that kind of stuff. But if that's kind of in your head mentally that, it's just not quite how it used to be here, then that's another reason why a change of scene, I think, is, could be really revitalising. Even if he fights in America, maybe he'll just think, let's just go over there and do camp there, just do something completely different, just to give him something really fresh for the last however long it is. Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. And I think there are fights there.
PBC now, with Showtime looking like they're going to be bowing out of boxing next year. I don't know when their schedule runs up until. But if they do go, they haven't got a home. DAZN might be their home.
Could be.
I don't see it that way.
Yeah,
but you never know.
Amazon people were
but
mentioning.
that'd be
Yeah.
amazing. That'd be brilliant for boxing. Amazon. That'd be really
Especially
good.
because they're
Amazon properly invested in the sport with this amount of dates
They're
around
building
the
a big
world.
Amazon right by my house, by the way.
Maybe get a fight there.
Amazon. I live right next to you, by the way. Amazon. No, just saying, when you're doing your shows, your magazine shows, you don't have to pay any travel for me. I can walk to you.
It would be good that though, wouldn't it? I know we're going off I'm taking us off on a slight tangent.
That's
but,
okay.
But I think it was Deck Boxing News, Deck Taylor talking about it, and or it was George Gigney maybe about how, you know, it's a blow Showtime disappearing, and I think we can say that is happening, can't we? That is happening. And you know, it takes boxing maybe more out of the mainstream because it'd probably be DAZN or an Amazon or stuff like that. But that's where the world is now.
But Amazon's in every
That's where
house.
the
I was
world
going to
is
say,
now.
yeah, mate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes multiple
exactly.
times a day.
So
in the
this
same
kind
house.
this kind of obsession with terrestrial TV or whatever, it's not really that relevant anymore.
Yeah, I can't remember the last
think.
time anyone sit down and watch terrestrial TV. It
Yeah,
sounds fantastic.
Well,
but
the first channels when I put the telly on, the first channels I go on is DAZN, Channel 5, and Sky, right? And sometimes BT.
TNT Sports.
TNT Sport. No, but I mean, I go to what I want to watch first.
Yeah.
So it's always
Yeah.
boxing based. And like my missus turned the telly on. She is still conventionally BBC One, BBC Two, ITV. She'll look at those channels first to see what's on. Then she'll go.
Yeah.
First thing I do is go on to Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's really, really common. And
I actually spend my whole night just looking through stuff and don't watch anything.
yeah, that's exactly what I did yesterday. But it just, you know, when we're talking about figures and stuff like that, I think if you work in the industry, we all know where we are now. But it's just so pointless now to compare figures these days to even figures pre-digital, let alone figures from the terrestrial TV age. I mean, it's great to talk about it because you think, wow, like 20 million people watched that, or 15 million people. It gives like
You're not getting that
it gives the youth an idea of what the world was like when you had 3 or 4 terrestrial channels, but the comparison is utterly pointless, isn't it? Really?
Well, it's the reason why Barry McGuigan and Nigel Benn and
They're such
Chris Eubank
massive stars.
are still famous now,
course,
innit, because of that.
And it'd be brilliant if BBC or ITV decided to really invest in boxing again, but I just don't see it happening. Everything's in its bubble now, isn't it? You know, the world just consists of loads and loads of different bubbles. And,
Look at
and
the Ryder
that's,
Cup. I barely watched the Ryder Cup. I watch it every time it's on. I'm not a massive golf fan, but I love that.
Yeah.
Because it was on Sky, I had to go and look for it. Do you know it used to be on BBC? I'd say I'd
been on
contradict
Sky
myself
for a
because I
while.
go straight onto those channels. But I mean, I didn't realise it was on Sky. Because usually you see it advertised everywhere on. It's usually always on BBC, and like I didn't. So it takes it a little bit out of the way, doesn't it? It's still there for you, but it's not.
But in terms of I mean, you know better than me, I think. In terms of the US, obviously there's DAZN, Showtime, soon to be gone. I mean, did they Fox? I mean, ESPN. You know, Fox.
ESPN. Well, the rumours are that ESPN's deal with Top Rank is not going to be renewed.
I'd heard that.
Yeah, which is interesting because obviously you want ESPN as the biggest provider of sports content in the US to be involved in boxing. That's obviously not confirmed either way. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But I think we are and we have been in a funny little period for a little while, and now with Showtime seemingly on the way out, and if ESPN follows suit, then I think could be in a situation where everything is digital, all of the digital offerings in America. I mean, Showtime is still, you know, it's still a premium subscription.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that you can just turn on the telly anyway, which is, I think, a misconception from some of us in the UK.
And HBO was the same.
Yeah.
It's just that they had that kind of 10, 15 years before we did, didn't they, really?
Yeah. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how we ended up on that, but we've got about half an hour or so left. So we're going to talk about a bit of AOB. Obviously, we had a couple of cards this past weekend. AOB, any other business. So we had Zurdo Ramirez return with a decision win over Joe Smith Jr. Well done, Zurdo Ramirez. But we're running low on time, so we're going to talk about.
When did I watch it then?
I saw Callum Johnson kind of call out Joe Smith. I don't know if it was pre-fight or post-fight or whether he'd be really bothered. He's going to come back at cruiser, isn't he? And
I mean,
Feels like that could be a good one for him.
yeah, but Joe Smith, that was. I remember looking at the schedule for the American boxing tonight. Zurdo Ramirez versus Joe Smith Jr. at 190 catch weight, and then they both come in at 192 or something. I was like, this is going to be great. Like, he's got two guys. Should we make weight? Nah, do a catch weight. Should we do a catch weight? Nah. It was supposed to be 12 rounds as well, and they cut it to 10 at the last.
Good fight though.
It was a good fight, and I think Zurdo particularly is. I think he'll have a bit of a target on his back if he's going up to cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Naturally smaller guy, sells a lot of tickets.
Tell you what though, he wasn't as busy. So the commentary were praising about his footwork. I couldn't see the footwork myself, but he was more thoughtful in his work. But he wasn't as busy, and I think because of carrying the weight.
Yeah, for sure.
I think more than anything else. So they praise him for being so much better, but I'm not quite sure he was.
If you're one of those cruiserweights and you see him moving up, because cruiserweight is a division where they don't have that big standout name or big ticket seller, you're looking at him and you're thinking, yes, please. Like that was an eliminator for the WBA, but it was in 190 pound catch weight and it was 10 rounds.
If you're Gulamirian,
you may definitely want to fight him.
of course you do.
Definitely.
But where is he? He's like where's Wally, isn't he?
Yeah, I know.
Where is he?
Yeah.
No one ever sees him.
He's been fighting Richard Riakporhe for the whole year.
He's like Manuel Child of the cruiserweights, isn't he?
But yeah, if you're Chris Billum-Smith, if you're Arsene Gulamirian, I mean, Opataya, we haven't covered the Opataya-Thompson fight, 'cause that was a couple of weeks ago.
Ramirez is a good fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight. I just think that Opataya would just
beats him
box,
up,
which is far too quick for him. Like boxes on far too quick a tempo. But yeah, there was that at the weekend. There was Terry Harper and Cecilia Braekhus. We do. I want to save enough time to talk about the heavyweights. How did you see that fight, Andy? I thought Cecilia Braekhus. I mean, there seemingly people were up in. I know Eddie after the fight was up in arms, and it was a disgrace and it was travesty.
I didn't.
I thought that was a very, very close fight.
So did I. I watched it, but I didn't score it. So, I'm kind of shooting down my own argument in a sense. But from what I saw, it looked to me like a very close fight. That's what as I was watching it and kind of chatting to Amma or whatever, it looked to me like it was a close fight.
Yeah,
Scrappy.
It was scrappy. It was scrappy, but I felt like the natural size and sort of heavy-handedness in a sense. She was buzzing her and hurting her a lot, but I felt like Harper could clearly feel the weight of the shots, which she said afterwards, like, I need to go down to 47 or 40 because these naturally bigger women are, they punch too hard.
And I don't think Harper's got a great chin either.
No.
I don't think I think she panics a bit when she gets hit.
Yeah, she does. She's confident. You can see it kind of draw out of her. And as the fight went on, Braekhus, who's very, very experienced, I think could tell that.
So you'd say moving on a bit would be better, but then someone like a Sandy Ryan wouldn't be a great matchup for her either. I don't think, or Natasha Jonas, if whatever.
I don't see those two.
Whatever weight she's going at, but whatever she's going at, I think that weight that might be a problem for her. But
I think Tasha's sticking with welterweight. I think actually she feels like her best weight would probably be super lightweight, but you just go where the business is, don't you?
Yeah.
And for her, with Michaela Mayer stepping up to that weight and Sandy Ryan at that weight and all sorts of other stuff.
It's so difficult to keep a track on who's
on
what weight class and who's going where.
But that fight Saturday wasn't full of quality at all.
No.
It wasn't a great watch, unfortunately. Something like that happens. Styles doesn't gel well. But I thought, you've got to make Braekhus, who's 41. 42. You've got to make it work really hard. She's been in brown boxing a long time. You've got to make it work really hard, but she couldn't get away from the jab. Harper, so maybe
very close fight. I felt. I'm not sure whether or not we see that again, but anyway, I wanted to leave a little bit of time for us to talk about the heavyweights. Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk definitely signed. Don't worry about the fact there's no date or location yet. That's details that we don't need to mind ourselves with.
Never seen this before.
Don't need to care about this. We're just blissfully ignorant. The fight's happening. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. In all seriousness, I feel like this is different to the rest of them, and I feel like we're going to get it. I feel like it's. I think the fight's happening for me. Anyway.
I do as
and
well.
I always err on the side of it's not happening.
No, I do as well, and I think the main reason why we don't have a date yet, although people are already talking about December the 23rd, is that you can't really give a date before this Ngannou thing is.
Shut up! You winded me up.
You can't really give.
Well, you never know. You get a hand injury, pull a calf.
You can't really give a date before that's done.
If he pulls a calf, right, he should. If he pulls a calf, gets injured, head clash, anything like that, Fury, forget about getting beat. Any of those, he should be ashamed of himself. If he breaks a sweat on the Ngannou fight. Though I might be working it, which is a great fight. Actually, it's fantastic.
You won't be working it. It's on TNT.
Really intriguing for other platforms. But yeah, so it should be a
Yeah,
walk in
but
the park.
just to, like, out of superstition almost. Yeah, I can understand why you're not going to announce the date for it until that's over. But you'd imagine that'll be done, and then maybe in the ring afterwards, Usyk will be there, and they'll announce December the 23rd,
that's
and that
it,
makes
innit?
all the sense in the world. And if you're Fury, you can then turn around and stick a big two fingers up at everybody, because you can just say, listen, this was always the plan. You all slagged me off for taking this nice gentle spar I've just had for tens of millions of dollars, but I'm giving you what you want. I was always going to, oh ye of little faith. But I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan from his side. And
wasn't he going to box for nothing though and put in London?
That was only for
He's
Anthony
had-
Joshua.
Yeah.
But I think, like, in all seriousness, with Fury, I think.
Have you think either of you two watched At Home with the Furies, by the
No,
way?
I can't. I'm interested.
No,
in that.
I haven't.
I mean, I wouldn't be
didn't-
interested, whoever it was, by the way, not just because it's him.
No, I didn't think that I would succumb, but I did, and I really enjoyed it, actually. I thought they all come out. Honestly, I think they all come out of it quite well. Tyson, he does seem like hard work. His wife Paris comes across, I think, as a bit of just brilliantly, because she has a lot going on, and he's bipolar, and they talk about it, and it's obviously he is very up and down, and that shows in the program. It was if you're teetering on the brink as to whether to watch it or not, if you're watching this, then give it a watch. It's decent.
Yeah, it seems as though the general response to it has been very similar to that. But I haven't had. I mean, it's difficult enough for me to get the boxing on a Saturday night. Sometimes I say, "Oh yeah, we want to watch this Tyson Fury documentary now."
Well,
Like,
my
"That's
wife
just not
started
gonna go
watching it
well."
before me, so that was my in, basically.
Perfect. Back to the fight anyway, and not Andy Clarke's Netflix preferences.
Beckham
Other
yesterday,
documentaries
I
are
watched-
available.
like Beckham, for example.
Anyway.
Brilliant.
All right, we're veering into different sports now.
Beautiful.
It seems as though, like, after
Well,
all
get
of the
rid of this
year,
fella, yeah.
and everybody kind of, really being pissed off with the heavyweight division, it feels like I hope it doesn't happen on December the 23rd, because it's just a bloody nightmare. It's just a couple of days before Christmas, pain in the arse. But anyway, that means we literally won't get home until Christmas. Anyway, it feels like the fight happening either in December or January or February feels like it's a good cut-off point. I think any longer than that, like if there had been no announcement of February, March, and it was going to be like, well, we're looking at doing it in June or July, then I think things would have been really, really, really bad.
Well, the fact it's going to Saudi, they haven't got to worry about outdoors and weather. That's a good thing.
No, but they have to get it done before Ramadan, which is in March. So, like, it's getting it done before then, because that was one of the big hold-ups from last year.
I think that's why I feel like they want to do it sooner rather than later.
I think they will
do it in December.
Yeah, they're going to.
If I had to guess, and I have no inside information.
Yeah,
I think they will do it in December.
When does that Riyadh season finish?
March, before Ramadan.
Okay, okay, it's strong. Okay,
so
I think it'd be if they don't get December, then which it probably will be actually, but it'll definitely be January early. I think. So it's the fight we want. It's not going to be a great fight to watch, by the way. I hope I'm wrong, but it's the fight.
Sure, you're right.
But it's the fight that we need.
Yeah,
it's the fight that we all need, and they need it as well.
Yeah.
And Fury talking about everyone talks about legacy now. This is it. Because without this, he's had a great career, and he's boxed really, and he beat Klitschko, and then he come back from all this shit he come back from. But let's forget about that. It's just boxing alone, and he beat Wilder twice. It was a good trilogy, but with the second one especially, he beat him convincingly in the second one. The third one actually he was worse, but it was a better fight, ironically. But so he's done great, but you're not going to be putting him in the top 10 of all time on them two alone. You just can't. I don't think that. This is the people be slagging me off now. I'm a massive Tyson Fury fan. I think he beats Usyk, by the way. I do, because he's adaptable, because he can think on his feet and he can change. And that's going to be the difference for Usyk. Usyk can do the same stuff, but he's half the size. And this Fury now uses his physical presence better than ever before, will be a problem for Usyk. Now, people who say, some people say, or read, that some people saying that he wants to fight now after the Usyk Dubois fight. I don't understand why that, because, like, what did you see in Usyk that you hadn't seen before? Like, that wasn't a close fight, by the way. Like, Dubois was never in that fight. There was that one controversy with the low blow. That was it. Like, apart from that, it was a typical Usyk performance. You don't take any risks. Dubois had a little bit of a go and showed a bit of toughness at times before he took the knee. But up until that point, he was just getting slowly picked apart. I thought, am I right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you're
I
absolutely
yeah.
right.
People going, oh,
that's
no,
what happened.
no, we've seen that. No, definitely no. Oh, no,
No, I don't. Yeah,
like,
I don't
it doesn't
see
sway
that
you
either.
away. I was always Fury before that, and that one didn't change my mind in any shape or form.
And it would have been the same for Fury as well. Fury would have always backed himself to win that fight, but he would have had a number in his head that he would have wanted to receive for the fight, and then that would have been what he's waiting for. I don't think
Yeah.
he'd have been waiting for
Yeah.
Usyk to slow down or
No,
become
no,
old
no.
or any of that stuff.
No, with these big fights and these top names, and it's never. We've said it before, haven't we? No one's scared of anyone.
money, innit?
Like, it's just money and politics and business and negotiations, and you want to. You know, and like we said before as well, the Saudi factor is a help and a hindrance, because it helps because they've got loads of money, but it's a hindrance because everybody wants loads of money, or they don't want to do it, and I completely understand that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You go. That was the worry about Spence and Crawford. Let's go off a tangent a little bit. I thought that fight's not going to happen because Crawford got so much to box Avanesian. He's got. Well, if I got, say, he got 10 million, they said, so they say it's 5. I'm going to want, and he got it. I'm going to want 25 million for boxing Spence. You just think, come here, are they going to? Oh, and if
How does
Spence
that
is
work?
going to, well, I want 25 million as well. Then they're going to. Oh, they're going to get 50 million from that fight. That's what I thought. It was good. It was a great fight. It was
Yeah.
a privilege to be there. Actually, it was a one-sided fight. But I mean, it's a great matchup, a great fight, and all the rest of it on paper. But how are they going to draw that? Because it's still really there's no one real superstar in between them outside of the sport. But they did really well, apparently, didn't it? The pay-per-view.
Yeah, it
So
did like
was-
600,000-700,000,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it's modern days, very, very good.
Yeah.
Um,
But anyway, yeah, so I think Usyk and Fury is the fight we deserve, the boxing fans deserve, and they're doing the right thing. And they both need it. Now, if Usyk can beat Fury, that puts him as an all-time great. He's up with Evander Holyfield status. You know, almost definitely. And if Fury beats Usyk, he's beating everyone around his weight,
Joshua.
except for Joshua. But Joshua now is not the Joshua he used to be. So
No.
if he beats Joshua now, there's always an asterisk around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fight that I still fully expect to happen at some point,
Of
Fury
course,
Joshua, because
yeah.
the money that's involved. I actually had this conversation with my mate Jim Lampley while we were in Vegas for Canelo Charlo, where we were talking about
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Fury's resume. Like, 'cause we were talking about the heavyweights and which fighter did you enjoy covering most. He said Lennox Lewis. Then we kind of spoke about Lennox Lewis versus Tyson Fury, and we kind of get into that conversation that I find myself in about Fury, in a sense of resume-wise, it doesn't stack up against Lennox Lewis, Muhammad Ali, like great heavyweights who have these extremely deep resumes. But kind of fantasy fight one-on-one, Fury against any other of these great heavyweights. He is a fighter who, and I think Vitaly Klitschko is similar, where him as a head-to-head fighter, Tyson Fury versus Larry Holmes, Tyson Fury versus Joe Frazier, he plays much better as a kind of mythical fighter as opposed to the resume. He doesn't have the deep
But
resume of a Lewis or an Ali.
That's always because of the size, though.
Yeah,
That's
for
all.
sure. But
The one-on-one because of the size, and people say, "Oh, no, size wouldn't be as heavy. Don't make a massive factor, but it does." Like look at Mike Tyson. He's tiny, isn't he, compared to the heavyweights? No, I think he'd still be dangerous and he'd be a hard man to beat. But how is he going to beat a 6'9" Fury who can move like a super middleweight? That's the thing. I mean, he still could because he had tremendous power. And at that short peak he had, Mike Tyson, it was hard to see anyone beating him. He got so low that Fury wouldn't be able to find him. By the way, so he look like he moves like a super middleweight. One moves like a super middleweight. One looks like a super middleweight. That's the difference. And he had fast feet. Mike Tyson could cover ground quicker than any boxer I can remember, to be honest. So
With someone like Tyson as well, like he's a great example, isn't he? Because Lennox, for example, the longer he's been retired, has got better, hasn't he, in most people's eyes?
Yeah.
Or he's been given the credit that he deserved. And Tyson, the fashionable thing since he retired seems to be to try and claim that he was never that good. That's what a lot of people like to do, and I can't get on board with that. And I know everybody likes to look at resumes, and I get that, the longevity and all the rest of it, but I prefer to look at people when they were at their absolute peak and wonder what would have happened then.
Yeah.
And Fury, like you say, if there are peaks, but they're pretty fucking high, aren't they? You know, going to Germany and beating Klitschko, all right, it was a pretty hideous watch at times, but that's what he needed to do to win, and he definitely did win. And that second fight against Wilder was, again, you know, it was breathtaking, is what it was.
Well, both of those versions of Fury, for completely different reasons, are absolute nightmares for anybody. And all fantasy fights should always be on their best. Yeah, the best
thing
version.
is, people always break down and go like, you can pick holes in anything. No?
Yeah, for sure.
So you go, Klitschko's at the end of his career. That's what they can say. But still, what can you do? You only beat who's in front of you. And who was Wilder beat? There'll be other people say that to me. Who was Wilder beat up until that point? And by the way, the fight he did win, he was losing. Like that sort of thing. The competitive fight he was in, he was getting beat. I go, but he's still a guy who can just barely touch you and knock you out. So you know you gotta factor all these things in. You only beat who's in front of you. Look at Lennox Lewis. Those 90s heavyweights now, I forget how good they were at the time. By the way, and
what a decade.
And they were all juiced up. Like probably, I don't know this.
Don't get sued, please.
According to the boxing news, right? No, but
my lawyer's watching this going.
I mean, that was an absolutely magnificent decade. You know, it's
a great decade.
Even like beneath like Holyfield, Tyson, Lewis, Bowe. Had like Mercer, Morrison, Ruddock, Rackman. You know, all of these great heavyweights. Who like imagine sticking like Razor Ruddock in with
Tommy Morrison
nowadays fighters. Yeah, Tommy Morrison in with like
Johnny Fisher,
David Tua.
Yeah, David
someone
Tua,
like him.
Yeah,
like Ikebuchi, man, sticking like one of those guys in like in the modern era. That's where I think because I think we've had in the last 10 years or so, kind of the post Klitschko era, we've had. You know, the heavyweight division kind of for all the stick we give it now, the kind of notion was, oh well, you know, now Vlad's out of the way, or like, the heavyweight division's alive again, the Wilder trilogies, Joshua, Klitschko, yada yada yada. But it's always felt quite top heavy. It's always been like 3 and then the rest sort of thing. Whereas I don't think we've had the depth of the heavyweight division as we had in the 90s.
It's been exciting because I think the quality hasn't been great. So we've had some exciting fights, but we haven't. Yeah, you know, like Riddick Bowe was as a complete fighter as you could find, except he just ate too much food. But I mean, he could have and should have been an all-time great. I think Riddick Bowe, absolutely fantastic. Like I never seen a fighter for his weight throw an uppercut so good as he did. Like he was just brilliant in every facet. He had a great jab, he was tough, could fight inside. You know, if you put him now, you put him now, even as his size, big but not big compared to them. You put him now in heavyweights now, and he's ripping through people. They wouldn't be able to fight. They wouldn't be able to. He don't jab. I mean, the tall guys, he don't jab. When they got in close, he'd be ripping up because through the middle. He'd be moving around the side. They wouldn't know where he is. They wouldn't know what to do with him because they learned their trade better. I think because it's just people were taught different back then. I think that's all.
Yeah.
But either way, listen. Tyson Fury needs this fight. That's the whole thing. Go back to that. He needs this fight to say, "I'm clearly, unequivocally the best fighter in my era." I think he is. But you've got to beat everyone. Now, I know you haven't beat Joshua, but Joshua's unfortunately now gone on the other side, I feel. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes back. It'd be great if he come back to be the fight that he once
Joshua
was.
comes back, beats Wilder, then we get Fury versus Joshua.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But and then I would decide who was the best in that mix of eras. And then all of a sudden we look back at this generation and go, actually, what a good generation this was. What a good decade this was of boxing.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you've got Joshua. Yeah, he lost twice to Usyk, but he beat Wilder, then he beat Fury or whatever. Like, however it
not
kind
a
of
problem,
comes.
man. I don't think losing not a problem. There's never been a problem. They all lost. All the greats lost. You know, but like
all those 90 heavyweights we just mentioned.
And Lennox Lewis lost to people who shouldn't have ever beat him. By the way, they were good fighters, Holland McCall and Rackman, but they weren't his level. No, but they beat him quite comfortable. Let's be honest. But he got his revenge. I would say that. And also, you know, he had a bit of a touch against Vitaly Klitschko. Sorry, let's not forget that. And you know, so that was a hard fight for him. You know, who knows how that would have ended without the cuts. So yeah.
But yeah, I think kind of going back to the original point. I can't remember what it was. Was that if Fury's resume at the minute I don't think necessarily matches his standing as a great heavyweight. He's a great heavyweight. But then the win over Usyk,
people have decided that he is the best.
Yeah,
and I agree that I do think he'll beat Usyk. I think he'll be able to just use his size to nullify what Usyk does essentially. So I would agree that he is the best, but he does have to. He's got to beat him because he's got 3 belts and Tyson's got 1, and so they have to fight. And we've had that situation for ages, but it needs to happen now. And I think it is going to happen. I think it is going to happen. On the night, maybe it won't be the best to watch, as Barry said, but it just doesn't really matter, does it, for the health of the sport and the credibility of the sport? Really, everybody looks at heavyweights, and when it's happening in other divisions, they'll just think, well, this is a bit of a joke sport, isn't it? If you're not going to have the biggest fight that can possibly happen, what are we really doing here?
Well, the sport needs it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when the heavy division is flourishing, it benefits the sport. Because they go beyond. Yeah. Beyond the sport, they don't just go beyond boxing. They go beyond sport.
Well, even you
transcends
look at
beyond sport.
How much traction Fury and Garnu's getting, because it's 2 big men.
Seen the promo?
Really
good.
Excellent.
Really
Really
good. Really good.
Really, brilliant.
Yeah, very good. But anyway, that's all we have time for today on the Boxing Show. Thanks to you for joining us, and of course to Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke. It's been a few weeks, but it's great to be reunited with the pair of you, as I'm sure you'll agree. But that's all we have time for. Don't forget to let us know who you think's going to win in the comments. Will it be Tyson Fury? Will it be Alexander Usyk? Will it happen at all? We'll find out as the weeks unfold. But from me, Rob Tebbutt, from Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke, thanks very much for stopping by, and we'll catch up with you soon.